Howdy, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Okayest Trapper podcast. Now, today's guest is one of the names that just about every serious trapper has run across at some point or the other. He runs a company that's been producing predator lures, baits, and attractants since 1984 and has grown into one of the most recognized names in the game. He brings over 50 years of experience on the trap line, has trained trappers across the country, and built a reputation for actually doing the work and not just talking about it. So, Mark June, welcome to the Okayest Trapper podcast.
Hey, it's good to be with you, Zach. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I know your trapping season really just wrapped up, and we kind of just ended most of our seasons here in Idaho as well. So now we actually get a little time to get out of the woods and talk to our friends. But I'm excited to talk with you. But I asked the same question at the beginning of every guest, and I'm excited to hear your answer, which is, if you had to reach back into the recesses of your brain, the piggy bank of your memories, what is the first memory, core memory you have of ever being exposed to trapping?
Man, so I grew up on a lake in Michigan, and I can remember knowing absolutely nothing. And my dad was a hunter and fisherman, and but he didn't trap. And so we had these muskrats under the dock, which I didn't even know what a muskrat was. And so in the day, we still do Fur Fish Game magazine. So I bought a Fur Fish Game down at the corner mart, and I read an article about muskrat trapping, and I began, and I was terrible. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a mentor, but I did catch one, eventually. And I still remember that very first muskrat. I do.
Wow. So how old were you at this time? I'm thinking of Mark. Is this like 8 years old, 4 years old, 12 years old? Where are we at?
I was 10. I was 10, and it was cold. We didn't have gauntlets back then. It was, winter in Michigan, and I had chopped this hole, and I caught him with a long spring up underneath the bank. And so every time I checked the trap, nothing in it, it'd snap on my finger, and I'd pull out the trap with it on there, and I'd reset it, frozen fingers, but one day I reached in there and, oh my goodness, something's it. And I pulled, and showed the neighbors. I mean, I showed everybody.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, that's a core memory that I'm sure just stuck with you for an eternity. But I'm curious. I'm always curious where the desire comes from. Obviously, like in Michigan on a lake, like you read Fur Fishing Game that your dad might have had sitting on the counter. But like there's a little bit of initiative that has to be conducted to go. Like, did you get your dad to take you to the local shop and buy some traps? Like, how did you even procure the things you needed to even start that adventure?
That's a great question. I was an avid reader, and in that time, I just read a lot, and then when I got older, it was some years older in high school, I went to my first Trapper's Rendezvous, and I was a kid in candy store. I just, wow, and that was back in the heydays. I graduated high school in 1975. So this would have been, early 70s, and fur had a good price down the board. And it was just a candy store. And, where have you been all my life? And so I met some guys that took me under wing, showed me some stuff. And yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, those, that heyday. So like the late 70s into the mid 80s, that had to have been prime time to come up. Now, I've had a lot of guests on this show that were also trapping during that time frame. Many have fond memories of the paychecks that came along with that time of our trapping history.
Right.
Paying a mortgage on it, maybe buying a new truck. But often, many of them, compared to today, look back on it with less than favorable views of the competition, the kind of ruthlessness that went along with it, this is my territory, not yours, kind of thing. Did you experience that all as a young trapper in that time?
I did, but Zach, here's what I've discovered, and I'm still on this page. I still am. Man, I will outwork you. I will just outwork you. And so people were grumbling about different things. I just got busy. And I developed, and then I developed different sets a little bit, sneakier sets, and I wasn't as obvious. And so there were years when I was in college. I went to University of Michigan for undergrad. I can remember we had fur sales up in Gaylord, Michigan, and I'd plop a lot of fur on their, 150 fox in the day when 100 fox was a lot, and and then I'd plop in 70 or 80 mink when mink were, I paid my junior and senior year at University of Michigan with pelts, so, I mean, I didn't sleep for 2 years, but, and everybody's griping about, yes, there was some trap theft, there was some ruthlessness, but I didn't experience it because I did dryland mink sets. I didn't do pocket sets. So I just was different, and I ran a lot of miles, and, but yeah, so I mean, the ruthlessness and the competition made me adjust rather than just gripe.
Yeah. Well, so that is I would say that's not an innate trait in everyone, right? I would say maybe it is more common among trappers and people who do a recreation that is by its own nature very difficult. But if you were taking something that's already difficult and doing it to maybe not a more difficult degree, but a higher volume degree, like where did
Right.
that come from? Did you grow up doing sports? Was it like your parental figures? Like, where did that discipline and drive to do more and outwork people come from?
Man, it's a disease. Yeah, I was a competitive ball player. I was a good basketball player, and I ran track, all that. I mean,
Mhm.
I've always been competitive. So I just took that spirit and I put it over in the trap line. And, but I didn't compete with other trappers. I really never did. I competed with me. I'd set a goal of what I needed to have, and I'd set for it. Just same as if you're a, competitive long distance runner. You've got a goal. I'm not running against you, Zach. You're in the field, but I'm trying to beat my time.
Mhm.
So not your time. So yeah, I've always had that disease of competitiveness. And so,
It is interesting. I think for folks who have longevity in this, I'm calling it a recreation. It's also a job for folks. It's a means of living, but folks that have had more success, it's almost a one-to-one match to the same individuals who've done some level of competitive sports or,
right.
have an understanding of discipline and, the ability to compete against yourself. It's almost 100%. I think I can maybe think of one guest who maybe hadn't, and they might not have just have told me. So I think that's an interesting little byproduct of our
Mhm.
community. Is there's a lot of people who are type A and very driven.
Oh yeah, I mean, through the years. So I've been 58 years a trapper. I'm 68 years old, and I'm still getting after it. And I don't know how long I'll be blessed to do that, but I still am able to do it. And all through that heritage, I've just met people, and it's interesting when they're successful in their area of trapping and what they do. You'll find that they've been successful in another area too. They just didn't land in trapping.
Mhm.
They just took what they were good at and who they were, and they applied it to their trap line. So,
So they're years old for, and we're back. Sorry for those who are on
there
here.
we go.
My internet bobbled. That's a Zach fault. So, but let's go back in time a little bit, Mark, to you. As a 10-year-old kid, now you're budding up to going into high school. You've got some trapping under your belt. You've come from a hunting family. How does that evolution between 10-year-old Mark June and paying for, your last 2 years of college? Like, were you hunting at the same time? You're still doing competitive sports. How did you balance all of that?
Yeah, well, I kind of always erred on the side of trapping. I hunt, I fish. I mean, I hunted avidly for a season with Tom Miranda back in the '90s. We, co-host of a show on ESPN. I mean, I've hunted avidly, but wherever it was, I just always, man, I've loved trapping. And part of that is the solitary nature of it. It's me and maybe a partner at this time. My wife Donna's been my partner on the line for last number of years, and so and I've had other people in different projects, but man, I just like the competitiveness of me, and I like coyotes. I mean, early on when coyotes started to transition into Michigan and replace the red fox, man, I went from terrible. I was top five, maybe top two of red fox trappers in Michigan, and then the coyotes came in, and I went to the bottom tier of the coyote trap. I mean, I knew nothing. I was making fox sets, but I dug in and I got better, and I talked to talk to people who were really good at it. I never took lessons. They really didn't do too much of that back then, but, and I got good. I mean, I'm a student, Zach. I'm a student of what I need to be a student of, and that is the animal. Man, I'm outdoors all the time. I'm in here in my house with the podcast, but my neighbors know me. I'm not home. So,
Wow. Well, I mean, again, those parallels of the discipline and being outside, and you mentioned you were always hunting. You did a lot of work with maybe Tom Miranda back in the day.
yeah, still
What's
do.
that? I
Still
like
do.
it. Well, that's good. And I like to ask this question though, especially to those who dabble in both significantly. Do you believe that your experience in trapping has made you a better hunter?
Oh, man. Absolutely. And Tommy'd be right on that same page. I know he is. Um, I'm a better predator caller. I mean, I've never taken the same passion and applied it long term to those vocations, I call them. But it's, yeah, only because, trapping honestly is 90%, I don't know, I'll pick a number, but 90% strategy and 10% application. It takes me this long to set a trap. Well, this long nowadays. And it takes me this long to figure out what I'm going to do. A lot of people do it the other way around. They take that long to try to figure it out, and they spend this long to make the set. They're back. I mean, I get it. I've been there, but you have to hone it. And it's the same with trapping. I will study it and work it and then schlock that monster deer because it takes me this long to get him, that long to get at him. So,
Yeah, I mean, well, that's a metaphor for life, I think, too. Just in whatever you're doing, the more you can study. Now, my generation, the generations after me, I think we're on an uphill battle to fight against the attention that it takes to be able to do that. I mean, we were brought up in this economy of 7-second clips of this,
sure.
minute-long YouTube tutorials here and there, and to sit in the woods and do that. Like, it's an actual effort. Which I think a lot of young people probably take for granted. And I'm glad that I have this as an outlet to be able to practice that on a regular basis. And I think more young people need vocations like hunting, trapping that does take time, patience, and attention to detail, because we're losing that on a large scale just in our society.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's true. And you have to have a high degree of patience, and man, you can't just watch clips of things. You have to be outside studying it. And nowadays I'm a grandpa, right? I've got grandkids, and so I used to take my kids, now I take my grandkids, and I know what you're talking about. I can't deliver to them something exciting every 3 minutes on the trap line. We just can't. And so, but Papa, helps them understand that this is the part on the front end to get the exciting part on the back end, which might be the catch or whatever yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm experiencing that with my kids. So I have young children, 5, 3, and 1.5. And, they've been on the trap line with me since they're little. People are probably tired and sick of me talking about them on this podcast. But to your point, like, we don't have a TV in our home. Our kids are not at the age where they're on phone. They don't have a phone. They see
Right.
mom and dad on it occasionally. But even then, like, just everything else that around, like kindergarten, things like that, like, they're exposed to this. You need to have quick satisfaction. And it's hard even with a 5-year-old. And I'm sure you're experiencing that with a grandkid. But when
Right.
you make that connection of investment and then outcome, is pretty magical. And, those are the things that my kids talk about, oh, that beaver we call it, or, mink or whatever it is. And it's so exciting for them.
Yeah, well, when they come with Papa, all right, everybody put your media, everything away. I mean, it's all different flavors. It all goes away and let's get on the buggy. And actually, it's been wild. I mean, let's go. And they toss it all aside, and with our kids, their mom and dads go, well, what if you need to call? Oh, I have a phone. I mean, it's not, people aren't going to die on the trap line. We'll make do. So they don't all need to take a phone with them. So
yeah, that's perfect. And I think those are great rules to have, whether you're a grandparent or parent. Like, it's just it's the way to be. I think we have to bring that back. Now,
yeah.
I want to transition a little bit. into lure making. I have not had a lot of lure makers on this show. So I'm curious, like, at what point in your journey did you go? I mean, you never transitioned from trapping to lure making, but when did you include that as kind of like a part of your ethos or what you were doing and then eventually turning it into a business?
Yeah, well, I used to use an awful lot of lure because I did an awful lot of trapping. And I was Ray Milligan in the day. Ray Milligan was a name in the business, and I think he still lives in Chama, New Mexico. But Ray, I was a big customer. I was on his catalog every year with catches and all that. And then I started to go to the National Trappers Association convention, and I don't know what year and I don't know where, once upon a time. And I would meet people who were lure makers. And I'm a scientist, I'm a biologist by education. So I went to school for wildlife management. And so, just I was intrigued by this formulation and all that. So I started to dabble in it. And and I was fortunate to meet a gentleman, Nick Wojcinski, was one of the top names in the business. He was out of the Northeast. And Nick just took me under wing for whatever reason. I was young 20s, he was not. And man, he would send me home with notes on file cards, and I would tell people, hey, Nick said, and they would, Nick said? Like he didn't, like Nick doesn't talk to anybody. Well, okay. But he'd send me home with some food for thought. And from that process, he was a huge part of me starting my business. I had the opportunity to call, I was back in the day with landlines. I could call him, he'd be in the shop, I'd ask him a question, and he would answer me. Now, I didn't know he was in the twilight of his career. And I think he just found a young buck, and he just enjoyed my passion. And I mean, when he went out of business, I bought an awful lot of his ingredients from it. I mean, all that stuff. So, but yeah, early on, young 20s.
Yeah, I'm sure, thanking God there was a little bit of luck there and those paths crossing and the ability to have that mentorship. But in your career as a lure maker, what do you think separates a good lure from one that consistently produces across different regions and conditions?
Um, well, man, there's some really good lure makers, and there's some really different ones, I'll just put it that way. And I guess the difference would be, um, just where it's been used. So many lure makers, I get it. Zach, you go out in your backyard and down the road and you're a trapper and you use lures and it works for you, great. You want to start selling that on the national level, and then today my lures are sold in Africa and Asia and Europe, and I mean, Australia is a huge customer of my lures. I mean, that wasn't just from my backyard in Michigan. So I had to, and that was that training, that mentorship from Nick Wojcinski about different formulations that would apply kind of wherever coyotes are or wherever fox, that kind of thing. And so it's a deeper dive. It's the same thing, but it's just a deeper dive. That's all. It's harder work. It's more work, more money, better ingredients. I mean, better ingredients are really, 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 really expensive, but they really matter. So that's just.
How did this is just a personal question for me. I'm always interested in the economics of businesses, especially in like the trapping world. Like, has that been difficult with ebbs and flows of whether it be tariffs? Because I mean, you're a globally distributed lure maker, but like, has it been stressful trying to make sure that things remain profitable? Like how do you handle that kind of business balance with, I have noticed, this is a personal anecdote, so don't take it for fact, but like, in the trapping industry is a lot of like handshakes, like I'll send you some lure, but like that doesn't make business sense to me from like, I come from a business background. So I'm curious how you balance that over your career as a lure maker.
Well, first of all, I'm with you on that page. So I've always been a business guy. And so I've always been serious about the business of the business. I'm a relational guy. I'm able to meet people. I don't care if they got a 3-piece suit and I'm sitting there with a Walmart buyer, or he's got a pair of overalls and he's just got done plowing a field in Arkansas. My dad, retired attorney, said, I've always had a gift. I'm able to talk to whoever, wherever they're at. And my dad can't tell the difference, which is unique in people. Most people like who they like and they don't, man, and that's trapping. I mean, trappers come from every flavor. They do. And so sometimes I'm sitting there with a three-piece suit. Sometimes I'm sitting there with a guy with overalls. And I can't tell you that three-piece suits are going to buy more or less. Or I'm
Hmm.
just telling you that you have to treat everybody in a business manner. And that resonates. The trapping industry is a really small industry.
Yep.
And so, man, you get a great name, you've got a great name. Man, you get a bad name, man, you better pick another industry because there's, it's a small pond.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah, I think that's a good answer on that one. I get it's hard to balance those things, but reputation is reputation, and that's largely what we're all measured on. Rightly, do unto
well,
others as you would have them do unto you is a pretty sacred saying that I think applies to this, and we
well,
hold each other accountable.
early on, I changed the name of my lure company. Early on, I was first called it a June's last name, Michigander Blend. And Tom Miranda helped me. Tommy was starting his line of lures as well, and we were becoming good friends. He's a Buckeyes from Columbus, I don't know, and I'm a Wolverine. I went to Ann Arbor, but we're same age, a lot of the same. So we, kind of met and really enjoyed each other. But Tommy says, Mark, if you're going to go like beyond Michigan, you can't call it Michigander Blend. You've got to call it. I said, well, what do you think? He says, oh man, call it Mark June. I'm
Mm.
calling mine Tom Miranda, Ray Milligan and Carol Black and all of the makers then had their Lennon's. I mean, their name was on it. Hall Baker, Stan Hall, his name was on it. I thought, okay, and I did. Changed all the name. It cost me a bunch of money I didn't have that much product. Yeah, but the labels and
Mhm. All the physical stuff that goes along with it. Now, with 50 plus years in the industry, you've done it for decades. From trapping writ large, not just lure making, what do you think has changed the most? And then what hasn't changed at all?
Oh, that's a great question, Zach. That's a great question. What hasn't changed at all is what we do out in the field. I mean, the pursuit of the animal and the success of, if you want to catch one or you want to catch 10 or you want to catch 100, whatever you want to do, okay, or you're trying to catch a particular animal or you're trying to catch whatever you can. That hasn't really changed. Reading sign, picking up scat, all the things we do that's zany, that hasn't changed one bit. It's still trapping. Now, the things that's changed drastically is equipment.
Mm.
And I got a great buggy. I didn't use it. I mean, trapped out of pieces of junk when I look at it years ago. And now I've got, I use an MB 550 offset trap. It's just a machine. It's so sweet, so easy to set. I mean, I used to, I've used a lot of types of traps over those 58 years. So equipment has just gotten so much better, which at the level of what I do it now with predation control and contracting, time is money. I mean, literally, time is money. There's not enough of me. I just spoke with a gentleman yesterday who wanted to hire me but I have no more calendar. I just don't have any more of me. And so,
Going back to the business question there, I'm always curious of this. Like when there are those scenarios, right? Like there's almost an economic cap unless you figure out how to build a cloning machine. So like at what point then are you happy with where you're at to where it's like you take on the business that you can? Like, was there ever a desire to expand beyond that and pull people under your wing to be able to take on those extra jobs? Or, how has that
yeah,
evolved? Because I know the bigger name you get, the more people want of you, both of your lures, of your time, of your skill. How do you
right.
handle that?
Man, it's tricky. I know some in the industry have subcontracted, and I've just never done much of it. There's a gentleman right now covering for me, but he's making all of it. It's a gentleman, and we trained up. Paul is out trapping in Texas right now, and I just couldn't help that ranch. And I had a Trappers Academy in Kansas for 8 years, and so we did a week-long course, intensive course, and I trained hundreds. It was always full. Did it for 8 years, and so Paul was one of the best students I ever had. He attended it 3 different years, and so I couldn't help this ranch, but the tricky thing in the ranch owners or the farmers, man, so it's not just trapping skill, it's the opportunity and the ability. They have to trust you, Zach. I mean, you get keys to the kingdom, the gates and everything. And so it's not just they're a good trapper, which, man, can we trust them? I mean, because they're usually not there looking over your shoulder. You've got run of the place. And so that's a big component. So I built a name of trust, and I'm good at what I do. And that I found I didn't start with that in mind. I didn't even think of it, but that's the word of mouth. That's why I call it a vocation.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's interesting to me. So I just recently wrote a new book. I'm going to plug it here because why not? But I wrote a book called The Trade Gap, all about, the gap we have in our economy around everything from welding, plumbing, et cetera. But one of the anecdotes I have is, I've worked in artificial intelligence for 15 years. So I've been a keyboard warrior for 15 years, sitting on Zoom meetings. And almost 4 years ago now, I went through my first layoff. And this was about 4 or 5 years into me learning to trap, because I was an adult onset trapper. I didn't start until my 30s. And I was able to pay my mortgages with trapping, just hitting it hard, getting some government contracts, and really getting after it. And it was a trade or a vocation that saved me.
Yeah.
I do think trapping is an underrepresented vocation nationwide, right? And I think I'm interested to see, is that why you started the school you started? And then, where do you think it goes from here? Like, we have some schools, like the national or NTA and FTA have some schools, of course, that are usually once a year. But
Right.
what do you think about that?
Man, it's a great question. If I had time to do it, I just enjoy the Kansas train. In fact, I took the students. We held it. I leased a lodge, and we had the land. I leased it all from a rancher farmer and row crop farmer, and it was a good setup. And it was in one of the highest density coyote counties in the country. So I researched, if you did a school, and it's in March. That's when we did it. And you wanted them to, and I had to get permission from the state of Kansas, and I did. I knew the fur bear biologist, Matt Peak, and so I had to get all that. Where would you take people? Why don't we just take them to the highest densities of coyotes? Because I want the trappers who set traps today to catch something in the morning or miss them. I mean, we learn it both ways, right? So, and so, yeah, and at any one time, we'd have 300 and some sets out.
Wow.
I mean, we'd have about 13 students, and I'd have them bring a limited number of traps. But then I found some are more skilled than others, and they were cheating me. They were just putting in an extra set over there while I was helping this guy over here. So, but we had a lot of. It was just a competitive school, and they'd come back to bunkhouse at night, and who caught more, and all that kind of stuff. But I started it to try to develop a professional. I called it Professional Predator Trapping Academy. Try to teach it at a very high level. It wasn't really for fun. And in fact, I would interview people who wanted to come, and I'd just ask them. And I don't mind people coming. We had people that just wanted to do it on the weekends. That's not what I was teaching. And the tuition, that's not.
Tuition reflected the seriousness.
Thank you. Yeah, reflected the serious. Well, it was. I mean, if you're going to be a top level, vocational welder or whatever, or you want to do it on the weekends on the side hustle, fine. But it wasn't a side hustle plan. So
I love that. And where do you see that going? That school doesn't exist anymore. There are schools out there. Like, what is your crystal ball, if you were shaking it, for maybe trapping overall, but then also getting people trained up beyond just recreational, those who might want to make it a vocation?
Yeah, I can't tell, man. I've had so many requests for trapping, my skill, and then people who want to be my apprentice or help or learn, or so I don't know. This year I put it on Facebook, and I'm approaching 100,000 folks following me. I know I'm over 20 million views. It's been insane, and I didn't put that much on there. That's how much interest is there, and so I'm doing a lot of thinking, Zach, about what does this look like. I am 68 years old. I'm not at the front end of my career. I'm not at the end, but I'm at the front end. But man, the clients that we help and the outfits that there's just a huge need. And I've been in different states. I've been to Louisiana, Georgia, the Carolinas, Texas. It's not just a Texas thing. It's a lot of the southern states, just because the laws allow the rancher farmer to do more than they do in Illinois. So they buy their place. They might live in Illinois, but they buy their place in Georgia.
Well,
So,
yeah, that's true. So I grew up in Georgia and South Carolina. I'm an Idaho expat, like most people. But yes, I agree with that. And when you do get the school running up again, because 68 is the new 48 mark. I don't know if you heard.
I know.
So
I'm in great shape too. The Lord's blessed me. I am in great shape. So
yeah, we just celebrated my dad's 65th birthday. He was here and he and I built a brand new deck. So, but it's like I said, it's the new 48 where we're blessed with good health on this side of the aisle too. So, my hope is for you to continue that education aspect, because we need more of it in the trapping community, without a doubt, and just in the economy overall. Like, people need more resources outside of regular college to go and make a living, or try to, at the very best.
yeah. And see, and I'll share. I don't give my price to what I do, but I charge a daily fee. I get asked a lot. How do you set this up? Do you charge per animal? Which I don't. You cannot charge per animal. I mean, you can, but it's more of a hobby mindset. Because if you think about it, Zach, the very first day that I'm working my hardest, okay, and these big ranches take me several days to set up. I mean, I'm working all day long. I'm your HVAC guy, and I'm working all day long, and you want me to get paid? No, I'm not going to catch an animal that day, so I make this much money day one. And then each day that I work myself out of animals, which is the project, I'm making less and less money, and so the people who hire me, I had this discussion, because a lot of trappers hire on per animal. I will not. I will not. You can't have longevity.
Yeah, the economics don't really work in your favor there.
No, it's backwards. And so, which is fine if you want to be backwards and you only want to do it for a year or two. My clients, I've had these ranchers for years. They just want to know how my health is, and if everything's good, I'm taking my vitamins. I mean, so they need to see me back again. I had the last 3 ranches. I had 2 of them offer me full-time positions. They've bought more ranches. I love them, but I can't, guys. I love you, but yeah. So there's a need, and I'm charging a robust per day figure, and people don't even say, which is a very, very substantial 6-figure a year income. It is.
And that's amazing. And I think I appreciate you being open about that, because again, this is, after 50 years, like, your experience begets and your results beget the price. But I do feel like there is a tendency, especially amongst younger trappers, to understand. And if you go on Facebook or trapping forums, you see it all the time. How much should I charge for this job? Blah, blah, blah. And like, I do think that mindset, again, going back to being more business minded than recreation minded, of like, there's time out, daily fees make a lot more sense. And especially if you're doing what you're there to do, you're reducing the animal number in that area for a cause, right? And if you're per animal, that, like you said, there's not longevity there.
No, well, animal husbandry, so you have to become a student of what you're even going to be protecting, right? So I become a student of exotic animals. I know what things cost. I've been to the wildlife auctions. I see these guys paying, 10 and 12,000 per animal, or north of that. And so, and I'm thinking, the trapper's going to come in there and charge $2,000 to protect $2 million worth of stock. I mean, and the trapper thinks that's a lot, or he's like, wait a minute. I'm not trying to gouge anybody, but I'm just trying to say, if I protect and save your animals, man, I'm part of the team.
Yep.
Just like your biologist, your veterinarian, your feed guys. I mean, all of them are making robust incomes, and in comes the trapper. And I have people, sometimes I get calls and they don't, that's a little bit higher. We were thinking, okay.
Yeah.
I usually get a call back in about 3 years.
Yeah.
and so hey, and my price has gone up in 3 years, by the way, because of cost of living. So but that's that business sense that you bring to it, or you don't. And if you don't, when you first start out, I always counsel young folks that are starting. I say, it's really hard to go up a lot. Now when you're learning and you're not as efficient, and but I get this price. Like the gentleman covering for me is not at my price, but Paul knows what I charge because he's a good friend. So he just thinks he's worth, like whatever it is. I don't know what he's charging, but
Yep.
half of that or 2/3, I hope. Because if he's at a quarter of it and he's doing a great job, it caught 7 coyotes today.
Mm.
He just texted me a picture. Man, 7 coyotes when it's this hot this time of year.
Yep.
So next year, let's say he does it again and he wants to double his price. Man, it's tricky.
Yeah.
It's just the owner just like, oh, that's like, I thought we were going to hire at this price.
Yeah. And those are things, the customer service industry that it really is a hard thing to navigate.
Well, but I love it. I love the people aspect. Look, if you're going to take trapping to this level of a real professional vocation, like we're chatting about right here, you have to be good with people. And some trappers really, Zach, aren't.
Yeah.
I get it. They're loners. They're quiet people. They just want to be out in the woods. They don't want to talk to anybody. You have to shake people's hands. You have to. Probably why I've been just so blessed to do what I do. I mean, I'm kind of a weirdo that way. I don't mind. I don't mind chatting over the guy over a sandwich and going back and forth about what his needs are.
Well,
he's the guy paying.
Yeah, it's true. Well, speaking of that attitude toward being open to talking with people, kind of, you might have the little bit of that gift your dad had. How are you experiencing the new media that comes along with it? Because you are producing more content, you've got followers. Like, has that been pretty seamless for you to adopt? Do you find it distracting? Do you find it empowering? Like, how are you finding that part of the new trapping that we're all a part of?
Yeah, I found it zany is what I found it. I just had people wanting to follow, a little bit. So, man, I'm not even really on Facebook. I'm just not for various reasons, mainly because I'm not on my phone that much doing what I'm doing. But I thought, well, I'll plug a few on here. And then it was just intriguing to me, the interest, right? And there's some haters on there because that's okay. And I'm not, but then I go on and I answer. Anybody who goes on my Facebook page will see that I answer them. I try to do it in a real, nice way. Now I delete some because they're just obnoxious and they use words I don't want on my site. And so, because we have kids tuning in. So, but for the most part, then people find it intrigued that I don't battle back. But I understand, here's the deal, Zach. Most people, especially in the West, man, they're so urbanized. They don't know what they're arguing against. I mean, the number one thing in my Facebook page is, why don't you just stick your finger in it? Mm-hmm. I think the next time I make a post, I'm going to stick my finger. I catch myself every single day.
Well, you said the beginning of your career was you sticking your finger in that muskrat trap.
But again, they don't know. I mean, they just buy into the fact they must chop your foot, which if you think about it philosophically, why would I want to chop an animal's leg off if I'm trying to maintain them? So, yeah, I've tried to show some humaneness in it all, and that has really intrigued people. They're sharing those posts because, hey, Marcus is standing by the coyote, and the coyote's not, as people think, it's getting tortured. I tell them while I'm standing, it's not tortured, it's just held. I can let him go. If I wasn't on a Texas ranch and I was on a GPS, like a college research project, which I may be on again, I'll put a GPS collar on them and I'll let them go and they'll see them run off.
Yep.
And you're like, whoa. He's not tortured. So I'm trying to educate a whole lot of people too that follow us. Don't have a clue what we do.
And I think, it's that catch-22. I think I haven't talked to a single trapper, young or old, who is just like, I just love making content. Like, no one does. Like, I don't, especially if you're into trapping, like, you want to do your own thing. But it is what I would consider now, I'll call it a necessary evil, because you have to educate. Otherwise, you're going to have people out there doing the opposite, and being able to show the humaneness, show the reason why, the science and conservation, the protecting of assets for ranch owners who are investing a lot of money. Like, those are little tidbits people don't see. And if you don't express it, and you don't have people who have the ability to express, whether that be via audio and podcasts or on videos, like, it gets lost. So we have to do it. So I appreciate you doing it, I guess, is my, it's a long-winded way of saying that.
Yeah, well, thanks. I mean, I've only had a few people that say you should shut it down. You shouldn't show trapping online. And I'm of the opposite. I think I think because of these comments of people that don't know what we do,
Mhm.
because I've also gotten a lot more comments of people go, hey, and I kind of understand what you're talking about, because what I'm doing, I'm actually protecting other animals.
Yep.
Which they don't, some people don't. So, and I show some of these other animals. And so then people, wow, I get it. I get that part. So,
So I have another question. I happen to know you've also stepped into ministry, for those who might not know, most people know on this podcast, I believe in God. I'm a Christian. Um, but I want to know how your time outdoors and on the trap line has like shaped your perspective. Like, did that influence you to go into ministry? Was it something else? Are they interweaved at all in your life today?
man, and so that's the number one time crunch on my life, and why I live in Florida currently. So
Okay.
at the age of 61, I went back to grad school again, 40 years after the first episode, and I graduated from Dallas Theological Seminary, so I crammed a 4-year program into 3 years because I went full time. And my wife and I transitioned from San Antonio. We lived in Dallas.
And you're competitive, I hear. So maybe that's why you did 3 instead of 4.
Well, and it was wonderful. But it was during COVID. I was a hospital chaplain during COVID. It was
Okay.
just, but no, I just had a desire to go and learn God, and with never a desire to be a pastor. In fact, my wife, agreed that she would come with me, live in an apartment, like when we were young, if she wasn't going to be a pastor's wife, which
Hmm.
I said, fine, because I don't think I'm going to be a pastor. Well, I graduated from there. We moved to Michigan from Texas, from Dallas. That farm girl that I married, Donna, didn't really like Dallas at all, I'm telling you. So, and I wasn't looking, but within a few weeks, I was covering sabbatical for a pastor at a church in Michigan, just as a recent seminary grad. And that led to 2 years. And so from there, we moved to Fort Myers, Florida to be a pastor. And that led to where I'm at now. And I'm actually a pastor of a church here called Living Oaks Community Church. And we have a congregation. I planted the church. It's a new plant in October. And we've already been so blessed. We're over 100 people, and church plants are not over 100 people within 6 months.
Yeah, that's amazing.
We preach the Bible. I preach the Bible. So here you have a trapper. And so that's what my ranchers in Texas, hey, when you're done with God,
Come out.
so they call it a coyote ministry in Texas, when I'm trapping. So yeah, Zach, I used to trap on 17 ranches in Texas. I managed the predators on 17 ranches, almost full time when I wasn't at trappers conventions, right?
Yep.
Now I'm at 3 or 4 ranches, my core ranches, and because I'm ministering full time, and honestly, every day I'm trying to figure out my timeline, because I'm supposed to be here, but there. But it's a little different having a bereavement, a funeral service, and then the trapper ranch calls. And so my friends don't know what to make of me, and I have a lot of friends here. I do.
That's
And,
hilarious. Well, I mean, that's amazing too. So congratulations on that. My brother-in-law graduated from the Southern Theological Seminary in Georgia.
okay, yeah.
I don't know, that was in Kentucky, I think. But either way, yeah, Kentucky. But that's amazing to have that plant and to be able to grow that, and definitely a testament to, again, just discipline and help from above on all.
I'll just give you one little tidbit. So in the 100-year history of Dallas Theological Seminary, downtown Dallas, right by the big Baylor University Hospital, I had a cargo trailer. Okay, so we lived so what we had to do when we started seminary, we had to go away from retail sales. There's no way to ship to customers every year. We just did wholesale.
Mhm.
Shipped to Minnesota Trapline Products and Bass Pro and F&T and all that. Okay, because Donna, my wife, there was a shipping place there for students, and she could get those orders out. We just put them on the back stoop, and FedEx, UPS, or whoever pick them up, right? Big orders, I'd palletize them, take them. But anyway, so I had a cargo trailer in a locked, gated place there, student parking. It's at seminary. And there's student there's actually police. Sadly, there needs to be police at seminaries. So there's a police post. And I got to know the policeman really good because nobody had ever had, like there was a little bit of skunk hint in that trailer.
Yep.
And I had it as far back in student parking lot as I could. Out of the wind, downwind, I'm a trapper. I know where downwind is. So and all the policemen would just come and hang out with me as I'm trying to package up orders, and I got to get back to the library and study. But they were hunters and fishermen, but they never had a trapper like that, and they probably never will. But we were shipping orders from seminary.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so 3 years and still managing to trap and to run your business. That's yeah.
I got a great wife, man. I'm just going to tell you right straight up. Donna is a gift. And so she's just driven more so than me. So, yep, we make it happen.
Yeah. Well, I can attest to that one. I think most of us that have any success in any avenue we take are often propped up by stronger women behind us.
It's true.
So I'm lucky in that manner too. Okay. So we are starting to wind down on time. It's amazing how quick time flies when you have a conversation. That's super interesting. So these are a little bit quick hitter, but you can go in as much detail as you want.
Yeah.
Thinking back again in the piggy bank of your mind, what's the biggest mistake you ever made on your trap line?
Oh man. I don't know that I've made mistakes. I've learned stuff. Early on, I thought I needed a partner, and I had several. Not good marriages. If you're going to have a partner, I'm just going to tell you, trappers, if you're going to have one, they're going to have to be an awful lot like you. Because when you're going to split something 50-50 and you're doing 80-20 or 90-10 or 100-0, it's just not. And those are good friends, good. So partners, man, early on, I just walked away. And I mean, I burned some bridges, hopefully in a good way that way. And I tried again. I stepped into that years later. No, people will let you work harder, Zach, while they're not. And so while the money, and I'm not good at that, man. Zach, if you and I team up, brother, and it's 50-50, here's how this works. I'm doing 50, you're doing 50. I'll cover you a couple of days, but
there's an expectation there that often gets mowed over.
Oh, it starts good. And then it just kind of this road thing, because I'm a long-term guy, not 1 week or one. So partners, it's, man, no more. I have a wife and she's been my partner now. That's what we did. I decided, Donna, why don't you be the partner? You're doing a lot of it anyway over here on the side. Come on, hop in the buggy.
That's smart. Same question, but for your first shed. Biggest mistake you've ever made in your first shed?
Oh, in the first shed. Man, I used to so I'm a real neat freak. Like I keep everything pretty neat. And I can't tell you how many times I've gotten rid of equipment, good equipment, that I wish I had it back. Like I sold those 250 mink boards. Oh man, I need those 250. And but I don't like to have crap laying around. So I'll sell it to you, Zach, for one money. And then sure enough, 3 years later, I'm back into it. So looking back, I can't tell you how much stuff I wish case in point. So I'm down, we made Bobcat stretchers for the industry called MJ36s. They're kind of a wire upper, wooden lower. And we had hundreds of them and we made them. And so I sold out that line of products to another company and I kept about 25, which was stupid. I should have kept, my 25 are looking scared. That company went out of business. They don't make them anymore. So, and I should have kept 100. I should have never sold it. That's what I should have never done. But yep.
Hindsight's 20/20, right? That's the hard thing.
I don't like it sitting around, you got to move it. And anyway.
All right. So crystal ball, what do you see as the future of trapping?
Oh, I think there's always going to be a need for trappers. There's going to be an ebb and a flow. I don't get panicked about fur prices because the fur industry is hundreds of years old and it goes through ebbs and flows. So, right now the fur prices were coming back. And so people giddy. I don't get too high and I don't get too low about the fur prices. I will tell you this, as we become more urbanized, there's a huge need for the vocation of trapping. I mean, I go and I instruct, I just turned down, I can't be there, instruct coyote portion of the second largest critter control place in the country. That's what animal damage. It's called AL Animal Control. and Brian Moss in Houston owns it. And he asked me to come to Branson, Missouri and train his franchisees. There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
They're everywhere in America. I don't have time. Man, it's a good nut. It's a good number. It's out there. People just small size trapping, and I'm telling you, it's out there.
Wow. Well, that's a good nod for those listening, and I hope people start to find where those nuggets are. Okay, so last two questions. These are the same for every guest. Lifetime experience in the woods from 10-year-old boy setting those muskrat traps to where you're at now. What is the wildest experience you've ever had in the woods?
Man, the wildest. Catching a mountain lion.
There we go. Yeah, that's near and dear to my heart up here in Idaho.
Yeah, I catch him. I've caught three. So, and the first one was in Nebraska, and it was in a bobcat set, and I still remember every nanosecond of that goofball, 104-pound male that we had to call game division and let him go. But but man, it was cool. It was really cool. I mean, I walked up on him, but I didn't walk up too far on him, and he never really moved. He hunched down. He was watching me. But the hair on my back of my neck, I mean, because I was thinking, man, he's only held by a couple toes. Okay, I think he'll run off but he never yanked,
Yeah, those are harrowing and exciting and stuff that only trappers will understand, which I wish everybody could have an experience like that. Okay, so I always end on a would you rather. So, would you rather be forced to use one lure for the rest of your life, or be banned from using lure at all and rely strictly on set location?
Oh man, that's a powerful question there, Zach. Whew. Well, I'm not a big blind set guy, so I'm going to have some lure in the pouch, right? I have used blind sets, but if you just made me, if you took away my lures, I'm going to have to take up podcast hosting. And so I'm going to have to say, I'll just take one lure with me.
Now, follow-on question: do you have an idea, like if you had to pick one lure out of your, goodie bag of lures you've had over the years, which one would be the thing you picked out to last you a lifetime?
I got to have two, man. I just got.
You got to pick one. You got to pick one, Mark.
Okay, Fox Frenzy.
Fox Frenzy. You heard it here, everybody. One lure for the rest of your life. It's Fox Frenzy.
Yeah, and Windwalker for the Bobcats too.
Okay. Well, perfect. Well, Mark, first and foremost, thank you. I know between your church, trapping, you're very busy. To spend an hour for me to learn, I'm very excited. I hope everybody who's listening, learns a lot as well. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Where can people find out about you, your lures, potential future reincarnations of your education series?
I mean, we post most of it right on the Facebook page, And so, but I always welcome emails, Mark June's Lures info@gmail.com. So I'm a good communicator, and I'm always, I'm techie, so I type fast. I tell people because, man, you answer me back. Oh, I type fast, and I learned that in seminary. You got to get it done. So, but no. I enjoy talking about the loves that we have, man. Trappers are some of my best friends. So,
well, I appreciate it. And Mark, again, thank you. And for those listening, we'll catch you on another episode of the Okayest Trapper podcast.
Thanks, Zach.